SoundCartel.
A lot of people love storage. I love storage. Finding homes for old trinkets and new shoes, boxes for winter clothes and freestanding drawers for toiletries. I could go on. So it's no wonder that going from almond farm to franchise storage company has been an interesting and successful change, particularly during a pandemic. So what out-of-the-box insights can we take away from such a thriving business? From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. In 2007, Dave Strutton and his young family left their almond farm in the South Australian town of Swan Reach to the hustle and bustle of Adelaide. There, he bought a new Howard Storage World franchise at Mile End, near the city centre. Over the years, Dave's built a reputation in the retail industry. His store's been thriving, while others have struggled. In fact, when the national franchisor faced huge financial challenges, which ultimately led to voluntary administration in 2016, his was the only South Australian store to survive. Dave shares with Chris Ashmore some of his lessons on what it takes to make a successful business. For example, it's important to take time away from the workplace, but that means the business should be able to run smoothly while the boss is away.
Well, yes, that's the ultimate goal. I can't say that perhaps I'm practicing what I preach, but I'm getting there, and that is the goal in the long run. And basically, if the business can't operate without you there, then to a point you are actually the business, and that may work for some, but the ultimate goal is obviously a business that can be successfully sold or transitioned to the next generation. And if your role is so critical to the success of that business, you need to restructure, otherwise you're not going to be able to move on to that next phase.
It can be hard to let go though, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. And that business is quite possibly a little baby that you've been potentially nurturing from infancy. It's something that you're very close to and working very hard on. Someone like myself, I don't feel the urge or the need to completely disconnect from it at this point in time, but I want to have that freedom that I can have time off. We actually had an 8-week overseas trip planned for earlier this year, which of course didn't happen, but hopefully will happen down the track. Whilst I wasn't going to switch off entirely during that time, and with current technologies and things, you can obviously keep in close contact if you need. If you've defined your roles and so on within the business for other members of the team, you should be able to move away.
And what are some of the guidelines you suggest business owners should consider so that the business can operate while the boss is away?
You need to make sure that all the processes are being handled in the proper ways and nothing's being overlooked. So make sure that all of them are covered off by certain staff members. The staff members need to have a clear expectation as to what you want from them at the face of the business, and give them clear authorities to make decisions and allow them the knowledge that I'm not going to come down on them like a ton of bricks should they have made a decision that at the time they felt was correct, but in hindsight perhaps wasn't the right decision. We all make mistakes. And so they just need to know that they're not going to be chastised and frowned upon if that tends to not turn out to be the correct decision in the long run.
Well, tell me, Dave, how did an almond grower shift into running a franchise? What was behind the decision to open a Howard Storage World store at Mile End?
Well, I actually grew up in Adelaide, so did my wife, and it was back in the early 80s when I was around 10 years of age or thereabouts that my family decided that they needed to buy a hobby farm, and so they were looking around for a hobby farm south of Adelaide and saw almond properties there. Then my father decided, well, actually almonds have got some legs, so they ended up going a bit further afield, and we went to the Murraylands area in South Australia and bought an almond property and had that for 25 years in the end. But I ended up there for about 12 years after uni running the property, and my wife joined me after her studies, and she's a physiotherapist. We wanted to then move back to Adelaide eventually and give the kids the opportunities that we had when we were growing up, and you can't do that when you're in a little small country town of a few hundred people. And so we had to look around for a business. Wanted to perhaps go down that franchise route to take some of the work out of establishing a business from scratch, and we saw the Howard store looking for a franchisee for a new location at Mile End, and we decided this is the one for us. And the product range worked for us, and so that's how we ended up back in Adelaide and opened the business back in 2007.
So 2007, 13 years you've had it. Now, that's a fair while. You achieved 20% growth in 2017, 2018, and you were named Howard's Franchised Store of the Year in 2018, and I understand it's grown even since then. What has contributed to the success of your business?
We certainly haven't lost focus of what our product range is, who our customer is, and so on. And we've always marketed the business quite well in Adelaide. We're in a very central location. Back there in 2017, 2018, the franchisor actually went into administration, and that resulted in a couple of the other remaining stores in Adelaide closing. And so that did leave us there as the only store. Now, after a period of time of reminding the Adelaide public that we are here still and we're pleased to serve you, growth started to occur, and we've been able to market that business now, what I believe, properly to the whole of South Australia. Whereas previously we were sort of hamstrung by our 5 kilometre radius territory and we couldn't encroach on other stores' territories. So we're now able to really take it out there to the buying public and tell them what we're all about.
So the collapse of the franchisor didn't really adversely affect you as a franchisee, is that right?
Well, no. Initially, yes, there was obviously some negative publicity around that, but we got the message out that we're here and we're here for the long run. And as you say, we've been around for 13 years now, and we've always been one of the dominant stores. We're in fact now the number one store in the country, and we've sort of taken that hiccup, I suppose you could call it, and head down, bum up, and we've moved on from there.
COVID-19 has had a huge impact for retailers around the country. How's it affected your store?
Well, I was obviously very concerned initially as to what we were going to be able to do in terms of keeping the stores open, still making sales and so on. And so March was a difficult time, and we were actually heading off on that overseas holiday late March, and things were developing very quickly during March. And then it became very apparent that we won't be heading off, and we need to make sure that the business stays afloat and that the doors stay open and that the public keep coming in. And so we're fortunate that in South Australia that case numbers were low. We're in a homemaker centre, an open-air homemaker centre where people feel comfortable literally driving in, parking at our front door. And we made it clear to them, communicating via various media and our member database, that we are open, we're here to help you during this time and make the most of your time at home, because of course we are in that category that is perfect for this sort of situation where people are spending more time at home and trying to get themselves organised and make use of that time. So after a bit of a dip in March, by the time we got to Easter in April, things really started to take off, and I was just so astounded by the turnaround that we had here in South Australia in our particular category. And even in the homemaker centre itself, it was very busy from Easter onwards. And we've seen great growth compared to the same periods last year. We're talking 20 to 60% up in each of the months for the last 4 months. So by the time we got to May, we were almost 60% up on the same period last year. And we're still tracking around 30-odd% up. I'm not expecting that to necessarily continue for the long haul, but I think that we are well positioned to be able to keep making the most of the situation at hand.
Absolutely. That's incredible growth. Now, you've also turned to social media big time too, haven't you?
Yeah, look, I'm not even on social media. I know I'm probably one of the few, but I can just see myself wasting way too much time scrolling through Facebook. So I've chosen not to participate in the social media avenues personally, but I fully understand that our customer is, and that's a great way of communicating with them on a local level. So I've always felt that I'm paying my franchise fees and marketing levies to Howard's, and they can handle all of the marketing, but we do need to incorporate a lot of local area marketing, and social media is certainly one of those aspects and one of those avenues that we need to explore. So we've really got stuck into that. We're posting regularly, and the key thing is the content needs to be good to keep the public engaged. And we're doing 5 posts a week on both Instagram and Facebook, and trying to show the personality of the store and those that work in it. And I sort of am the face of the store, and we're showing people real life examples, showing lots of images and videos around our own home. And I'm not pretending that it's a front cover of a glossy lifestyle magazine. We're putting our products to good use in a practical everyday way.
Well, final question, Dave. In your experience and time as a business owner and business leader, any lessons you can pass on to others in business?
I think firstly, you need to definitely know your target market. You need to know your product. You need to back that product, and don't think that you can be all things to all people. And I think I've seen a lot of businesses over time where they are trying to do that and they lose focus. So if someone wants a cheap rubbish bin, don't come down to Howard's at Mile End. We've got quality rubbish bins, some of them with a 10-year guarantee, but you will be paying for that, and that doesn't suit every person. Though some people want to spend $10 on a rubbish bin, they can go elsewhere, and I'm satisfied with that. So that's just a real simple example of it, but we know our product, we back our product with lengthy warranties, and we know that our customer is one that wants to have a good range, quality product. And so know that industry and really focus on it and engage with your customer as best you can.
That was Dave Strutton, business owner of Howard's Storage World, Mile End. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast.
SoundCartel.